The map size of GTA 6 is surely going to be a hot topic, but it looks like it could actually be smaller, and it looks like one former Rockstar Games developer wants that to be the case too. We'll be talking about all of that in this video today, and a whole lot more. Alright, so this was an interview that a former Rockstar Games developer did with PCGamesN.com. I'll leave a link to it in the description. This actually happened a couple of days ago. This is Tony Golan, who believes Grand Theft Auto 6 should be smaller and denser, boasting memorable navigation and less wide open spaces. So Tony, who worked on Liberty City Stories, Vice City Stories, Chinatown Wars, and Red Dead Redemption, spoke exclusively to PC Games N in an interview that covered his time at Rockstar and the future of Grand Theft Auto. So this is what he had to say. In terms of what I'm hoping for, I personally would like it to bring in a little bit in terms of the size of the world. I think a smaller but more densely packed location would maybe bring back some of that memorable navigation that I loved from the original. Okay, so what I specifically think he's talking about here is Grand Theft Auto 5, which is the biggest map in the Grand Theft Auto series, but there does feel like there's a lot of empty land. Yes, you have Los Santos and the main city, and you certainly have some smaller towns like Grapeseed, Sandy Shores, and some iconic locations like the military base up north, but there's a lot of almost empty mountain ranges that might be home to an Easter egg or two, but don't really provide anything for our characters to do. I would say with Red Dead Redemption 2, which is also a very massive map, Rockstar kind of improved on this. Now, I know things are a little bit different with Red Dead Redemption because it takes place in a different time period, but I felt like a lot of the buildings in there you could explore, and there was a lot of things you could see in almost the middle of nowhere that made it worth exploring. And so what I think he wants it to become is kind of like the older GTA maps. So if you think of Grand Theft Auto 4, taking place in Liberty City, that map was so densely packed. You couldn't go anywhere without finding cities, cars, streets, things to do, things to see. Doesn't necessarily mean you could go inside all of those buildings or interact with all those people, but it was way more densely populated. And even going back to the games that he worked on, Vice City Stories, Liberty City Stories, Chinatown Wars, those were obviously very densely packed too. Now, Tony goes on to say the only footage I've seen is a couple of bits of the leaked stuff, and I stopped watching pretty quickly. I found that really heartbreaking for the team to have all their hard work first shown to the world in such a janky and unfinished state, and I'd much rather wait for an official trailer to get really hyped. And you can totally understand what this guy might be feeling when he sees something like that. He worked on previous Grand Theft Auto games, and he's been in those shoes. So you can understand why you might look at something like the leaks and say, gosh, I can't even watch this. Like, that is so disheartening. I'll give you an analogy. I live in Atlanta. I'm a fan of the Atlanta Falcons football team. You might have known that they were in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. They had a massive lead. They blew that. They ended up losing. That would be like me going back on YouTube and watching those highlights and be like, man, I can't even really watch this. This like hurts to watch. So I can only imagine it's something very, very similar to that. But Tony obviously was able to see that the game is going to be taking place in a modernized, reimagined version of Miami-inspired Vice City and its surrounding areas. And because he worked on Vice City Stories, he explains why it makes for such an iconic location. He said, it's funny, isn't it? When we were wrapping up Liberty City Stories, there was a real excitement in the team that, yes, next we get to play in Vice City. Personally, I think there are two things at play here. Firstly, the 80s is a super evocative era that when the game was released, there was a lot of players' childhoods. There's a huge amount of films and TV that are firmly rooted in the 80s culture and vibe, and the Rockstar North and New Year's teams did a fantastic job of bringing that all into the game. So that's going to be probably the big difference is we only know Vice City from the 80s. Other Grand Theft Auto cities like Los Santos and Liberty City have been modernized, so we've gotten to experience them, but we have no idea what a modern, reimagined version of Vice City is going to look like. And we also know it's not going to be taking place in the 80s, which Miami was very famous for. Now, I still think the city and that climate is going to retain that culture, just a little bit more modernized. And I do feel like Rockstar will still create a ton of Easter eggs based on films and TV that were rooted in that era, along with the culture and the vibe. So I don't think that's going to be going away. It's just going to be reimagined. And then he goes on to say, secondly, I think the city just works really well and is that perfect size of open world cities that we've gone way beyond these days. where you could learn it all off by hand. Honestly, I think even now, if you drop me in any random spot in Vice City and task me with going to a particular location, I'd be able to fully knowledge my way there efficiently. And honestly, I could say that probably about every Grand Theft Auto game that I've played, whether it be Vice City, San Andreas, GTA 4, GTA 5, even Red Dead Redemption 2. If you kind of just drop me in a certain location and said, hey, you need to go to X, Y, and Z location, or you need to go to this city, I could probably navigate my way around there, which is so sad because in the real world, if I step outside my front door, I feel like I have to turn my GPS on just to go down the street. I am so directionally challenged, but in these video games, especially Rockstar ones, I feel like I know them so well. Now, I feel like with the GTA 6 map, obviously it's going to be a whole lot bigger, but what I'm hoping for is that what Rockstar does in the world, it just has meaning to it. So even if it's smaller technically than GTA 5's map, I want it to have more content, more things to do, more places to see, more people to interact with. I want more Easter eggs in there. I want more secrets and mysteries and serial killer murder mysteries to solve. I want all of that in the game, and I don't really care about the size of the map. I want what Rockstar to fill it with. And that's all the things we really like in the game. But I am so excited to go back to the iconic Vice City. Obviously, it's been way too long since Vice City and Vice City Stories, and I'm really excited to get back to that. And just to sort of wrap things up, if you're wondering what Tony is doing right now, he says, after Rockstar and working at Activision for a bit on Call of Duty, I really wanted to get back into making things that are smaller and sillier. So that's what he is doing right now. He actually just launched a new game. Again, if you guys are interested in checking out the entire interview for yourself, I'll leave a link to it in the description so you can read all of his comments and a whole lot more. But I want to pass this final question off to you guys. How big do you think the GTA 6 map should be? And do you think it really doesn't matter if it's the biggest? Should it just be filled with the most? I know Tony didn't want to talk about the leaks a lot, but there is so much we can gather from that. We roughly know how many cities there are, kind of the islands. We also know what things are going to be taking place in certain areas of the map. We can also get a pretty good idea of the density of Vice City and its surrounding areas, and whether it's going to involve other states or even going out of the country altogether for portions of a time. So there is a lot that we can actually learn from the leaks, so I am optimistic about this. But I do believe there's a great divide in the community on what the map should honestly look like. What are your thoughts and opinions on this? I'd love to hear from you guys in those comments down below. If you guys did go to enjoy this video though, a like rating would of course be awesome. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new. You want to stay up to date on all the latest GTA and all the Rockstar Games videos that I'll be doing here on my channel. And be sure to ring that notification bell as well. Sometimes YouTube just doesn't work, and if you ring that bell, you'll always be guaranteed to be notified when new videos arrive. But of course, as always, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.